Hi, my name is Rebecca and welcome to Yarn and Pajamas. Today is a Vlogmas day number 17. So I have my day number 17 gift here. This is from Summer. My friend Summer and I decided to do a swap with each other for Christmas. And we decided to do it Advent style so we would have something to open up for 25 days of Christmas. So here is day number 17. Let's see what it is. Ooh. It says Winter Wonderland Fragrance Oil Set. Ooh, how nice is that? Let's just grab the little box cutter here and let's cut into it and take a gander. So we have Christmas wreath, but that smells really good. Cranberries. Peppermint. Sugar cookies. What? That's crazy. Gingerbread. And cinnamon. Thank you very much, Summer. I cannot wait to get started in on that. It also comes with like a safety guide. So thank you very much, Summer. Also, Summer, a couple days ago in my gifts, I got a coloring book. It was a Christmas Gnomes coloring book, and I started coloring a page. And here is what I have gotten done so far. I've gotten a little bit more colored in. I'm having a lot of fun with it and trying out the different colors just to see what they look like. So it's been a lot of fun. So that's where I'm at so far. Some of the gel pens have been like shimmery and some have been like metallic-y and some are like milky, if that's a word like to use to describe an ink pen. Take a drink of tea. Can't get all caffeinated up because it's in the evening time. But are you guys ready to read a story from the Magic of Christmas Miracles? I have picked one out today, and it is called A Father's Tears. Take off my glasses. Okay, let's get cozy. One afternoon, about a week before Christmas, shortly after my family of 4 piled into our minivan to run a short errand, this question came from a small voice in the back seat. "Dad," said my 5-year-old son Patrick, "how come I've never seen you cry?" Just like that, no warning. One minute it's, "Mom, what's for supper?" The next it's, "Dad, how come?" My wife, Catherine, was as surprised by Patrick's question as I. But she is one of those lucky souls for whom tears come naturally, are spilled spontaneously, and then are quickly forgotten. Patrick has seen his mother cry dozens of times. So my wife was entitled to turn to me with a mischievous smile that said, "Explain this one, Dad." I couldn't, of course. I mumbled something in reply about crying when my son was not around, at sad movies and so forth. But I knew immediately that Patrick had put his young finger on the largest obstacle to my own peace and contentment, the dragon-filled moat separating me from the fullest human expression of joy, sadness, anger, and disappointment. Simply put, I could not cry. I know I'm scarcely the only man for whom this is true. In fact, I believe that tearless men are the rule in our society, not the exception. When, for instance, did John Wayne shed tears, or Kirk Douglas, or any of those other Hollywood archetypes of manliness. In one movie that I recall, when Wayne's best buddy is slain on the battlefield, the Duke looks down to the body of his fallen friend with studied sobriety, but also with his typical calm. Then he moves on to the next battle with his typical bravado. Passing centuries have conditioned us men to believe that stoicism is the embodiment of strength and that unfettered emotion is weakness. We have feigned imperviousness to the inevitable slings and arrows, traveling through life with stiff upper lips, calm on the outside and secretly dying within. A recent television news report only confirmed what I have long suspected. According to the news, the number of men being diagnosed with depression today has skyrocketed. But I submit that we men have always been depressed to one degree or another, though we tend to medicate it with alcohol or work or afternoons and evenings sitting mindlessly in front of one television sports event or another. Take me, for instance. For most of my adult life, I have battled chronic depression, an awful, insidious disorder that saps life of its color and meaning and too often leads to self-destruction. Doctors have told me that much of my problem is psychological, an inherited chemical imbalance, something akin to diabetes. Those physicians have treated it as such, with medication. But I also know that much of my illness is attributable to years of swallowing my rage, my sadness, and even my joy. Strange as it seems, in this world where macho is everything, drunkenness and depression are safer ways for men like me to deal with feelings than tears. In my own battle, I began to see the folly of this long ago, well before my son's penetrating backseat query. I could only hope that some debilitating handicap would not be passed on to the generations that followed mine. Hence our brief conversation on a sunny December afternoon, that day after Patrick posed his question. He and I were back in the van after playing together at the park near our home. Before pulling out, I turned to my son and I thanked him for his curiosity of the day before. Tears are a very good thing for boys and girls alike, I said. Crying is God's way of healing people when they are sad. I'm very glad you can cry whenever you are sad or whenever you are angry, I said. Sometimes daddies have a harder time showing how they feel. You know, Patrick, I wish I were more like you in that way. Someday I hope I can do better. Patrick nodded, but in truth, I held out little hope. Lifelong habits are hard to break. It would take something on the order of a miracle for me to connect with the dusty core of my own emotions. In the days before Christmas, I prayed that somehow I could be restored to at least a few of my own unshed tears. From the time he was an infant, my son had enjoyed an unusual passion for and affinity to music. By age 4, he could pound out several bars of Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries by ear on the piano. More recently, he has spent countless hours singing along to the soundtrack to The Hunchback of Notre Dame, happily conducting during the orchestral pieces. But these were hidden pleasures for him, enjoyed in the privacy of his own room or with the small and forgiving audience of his mother, father, and older sister, Melanie. What the youth director of our church was suggesting was something different altogether. I was wondering if Patrick would sing a verse of Away in a Manger during the early service of Christmas Eve. Julie Ball, the youth director, asked our telephone answering machine. My son's first solo. My wife and I struggled to contain our excitement and anxiety. Catherine delicately broached the possibility, gently prodding Patrick with Julie's call, reminding him how beautifully he sang, telling him how much fun it would be. Patrick himself seemed less convinced. His face crinkled into a frown. You know, Mom, he said, sometimes when I have to do something important, I get kind of scared. Grown-ups feel that way too, he was quickly assured, but the decision to sing on Christmas Eve was left up to him. Should Patrick choose to postpone his singing debut, that would be fine with his parents. His deliberations took only a few minutes. Okay, Patrick said, I'll do it. For the next week, Patrick practiced his stanza several times with his mother. A formal rehearsal at the church had also gone exceedingly well, my wife had reported. But I could only envision myself at age 5 singing into a microphone before hundreds of people. When Christmas Eve arrived, my expectations of my son's performance were limited indeed. My son's solo came late into the service. By then, the spirit of the evening and many beautiful performances by young voices had thawed my inner reaches, like a Minnesota snowbank on a sunny day in March. Then Patrick and his choir took the stage. Catherine, our son Melanie, and I sat with the congregation in darkness as a spotlight found my son, standing alone at the microphone. He was dressed in white and wore a pair of angel wings, and he sang that night as if he had done so forever. Patrick hit every note, slowly, confidently, and for those few minutes, as his 5-year-old voice washed over the people, he seemed transformed, a true angel, bestower of Christmas miracles. There was eternity in Patrick's voice that night, a penetrating beauty rich enough to dissolve centuries of manly reserve. At the sound of my son, tears welled at the corner of my eyes and spilled down my cheeks. His song was soon over, and the congregation applauded. Catherine brushed away tears. Melanie sobbed next to me, as others wept too. After the service, I moved too quickly to congratulate Patrick, but found he had more urgent priorities. Mom, he said as his costume was stripped away, I really have to go to the bathroom. So Patrick disappeared. As he did, my friend and pastor, Dick Lord, wished me a Merry Christmas. But emotion choked off my reply as the two of us embraced. Outside the sanctuary, in our crowded gathering place, I received congratulations from fellow church members. But I had no time to bask there in Patrick's reflected glory. I knew I only had a short window in which to act, only a few minutes before my natural stoicism closed around my heart. I found my son as he emerged from the church bathroom. Patrick, I need to talk to you about something, I said, sniffling. Alarm crossed his face. Is it something bad, he asked. No, it's nothing bad at all, I answered. Is it something good? It's something very good indeed. I took him by the hand and led him down a long hallway into a darkened room where we could be alone. I knelt to his height and admired his young face in the shadows, the large blue eyes, the dusting of freckles on his nose and cheeks, the dimple on one side. He looked at my moist eyes quizzically with concern. Patrick, do you remember when you asked me why you had never seen me cry? I began, and he nodded. Well, I'm crying now, aren't I? I said, and he nodded again. But why are you crying, Dad? Your singing was so pretty and made me cry. Patrick smiled broadly and flew into my arms. I began to sob. Sometimes, my son said into my shoulder, life is just so beautiful you have to cry. Our moment together was over too soon, for it was Christmas Eve, and untold treasures awaited our 5-year-old beneath the tree at home. But I wasn't ready for the traditional plunge into Christmas giving just yet. I handed my wife the keys to the van and set off alone for the mile-long hike from church to our house. The night was cool and crisp. I crossed the small park and admired the full moon hanging low over the neighborhood, brightly lit in the colors of the season. As I left the park and turned up the street toward home, I met a car moving slowly down the street. A family was taking in the area's Christmas lights. Someone inside rolled down a window in the back seat. Merry Christmas, a child's voice yelled out to me. Merry Christmas, I yelled back, and the tears began to flow once again. This was submitted by Tim Madigan from Arlington, Texas. Aw, that was a cute one. I really liked that one. So, how did you guys like tonight's story? Let me know down in the comments below. And I am going to go ahead and let you guys be for the night. And I will see you tomorrow in day number 18. Bye.